All right.
Hey, welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 58 for Tuesday, August 9th, 2016. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, joined in the PETM podcast studio in Atlanta, Georgia, as always, by Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, buddy?
Pretty sure this is the most excited I've been to do the podcast yet.
Man, we're on Cloud 9 tonight.
Without a doubt, most excited I've been yet. Probably most likely I'm going to screw up.
Well, likewise. So let's start screwing up right here. I'm going to go ahead and, y'all, I'm going to call myself out. So I got to tell you, me and Sherwin, we love all of y'all. We love the listeners. We love the fans. We love the comments and everything. And I think nothing more than loving getting called out on something when we make a big old mistake. And last week, I was so excited. So what Sherwin did was he texted me probably, it was like an hour or hour and a half before the show and said, hey, man, Matt Weaver said he's going to come on the show. It was right after he had dropped his piece about journalism and all that, and we had all read it, and we're all excited about it, and I was excited. So when we started the podcast, I was all excited and amped up, and I just skipped everything that we normally do, and for the first time in 57 episodes, I did not do What You Drinking.
Well, and what's really funny is I had realized that was about to happen in the moment, and I looked at you and I was like, well, I can't react because we're already into Weaver.
Yeah.
And we were super happy to have him.
Let it go. He's rolling.
And he's got a ton of great stuff to talk about, and he's super willing to do so. So it was like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
We'll figure this out.
So we dropped it in later in the episode, but it wasn't quite, what it should be, because the very first thing we got to do is What You Drinking. So, to make up for it, PETM Posse. So, we were called out, by the way. We were called out
by everybody.
On Periscope. It was just going brrrr. We were called out on Twitter for people. You were called out by
my former hiring manager. I met him for beer on Friday, and he's like, well, I listened to the first 36 minutes, and you hadn't done What You Drinking yet. And I'm like,
I know. So, that's it.
But one thing it says is y'all are paying attention. Y'all love that segment, and you love the flow of the show. So we really appreciate that. And so now Rusty. What you drinking?
Well, let's save that. Let's save that for just a moment.
Sure,
because
we're gonna shelve it, y'all.
We're gonna shelve it.
I know you're gonna yell at us again. We're hanging on to it just for a couple more minutes.
That's right. Because on the show, to make up for it, the PETM Posse, our fans, our friends, all of our loyal followers, we have somebody on the show today to bring you nothing but What You're Drinking.
A very sultry, sexy voice, an author, redheaded Chicagoan.
She's Juliette Miranda. She's an author. You can find her on theunwritablerant.com. She's got a podcast called The Unwritable Rant. 2 days ago, y'all, she interviewed the Charlie Daniels. Had him on her show.
Kenny's right. We didn't do the by the numbers.
Didn't do by the numbers. Either. We got that coming later too.
We got that. We got you covered this week. We double covered.
But Juliette,
we want to bring you the coolest drop in we've done yet.
Juliette is a whiskey aficionada. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. Where does that go? Anyway, and she joined us on the podcast. We want to drop that for y'all. So here we go. Juliette Miranda, and this was so much fun, y'all. So please enjoy. So welcome to the show, Juliette Miranda. Juliette, how you doing today?
Hey there. It's great to be talking to y'all.
Man, we're so excited to be talking to you as well. And we're ready to have some fun on here. We talked to you in the pre-show here about what we do every time we come onto the podcast, and that is our What You Drinking portion of the show. So we'd like you to start us off. And Juliette, what you drinking?
Well, right now I have a glass of Town Branch bourbon next to me, and it is my favorite summer bourbon.
Tell us about that bourbon. I don't know about that one.
I found it on a whim. I was just kind of staring at a wall of bourbon, and I saw the bottle. It was nice. It was square-shaped. I thought, well, what the heck? It can't be that bad. It is fantastic. It's really light. It has kind of like a peach flavor to it almost without being actually sweetened.
Sold.
And it's kind of... It's like a little bit like a white wine. It's very easy to drink, really light, just a great summer bourbon.
That sounds awesome. Me and Sherwin are drinking. So ahead of this podcast and ahead of tonight, Sherwin's been, talking it up and doing a lot of promotion stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to slyly walk into the liquor store and just buy me a good bottle of something. And we found this Widow Jane straight bourbon whiskey, 91 proof of all things. So this we should be in good shape in a little while here.
Oh, feeling no pain. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. So they got the barrel number, bottle number, and date and all that mess on here, age 10 years. And so we're going to have fun with that.
Yeah, we may have to take a beer break in between before we drop this in so the show doesn't get too sideways.
That's true. That's true.
Beer chaser. I love it.
So, Juliette, let's just dive right in. I think you had a story that you and Sherwin had talked about, and he said, you know what, that really ties in the bourbon aficionado that you are and the racing that we do, and thought that may be great to do.
Well, I thought it would. So
go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give a brief intro of who you are. You're author of Morning Neurosis. You host the Unwritable Rant podcast. You tell great stories, and that's where we kind of met, in the crossroads of you telling great stories and being very obvious that you like to drink whiskey. So that overlaps our Venn diagram quite well. And you reached out and said you had a great story about maybe the first time you came in contact with whiskey, and it just happened to be at the racetrack with your dad. So we'd love for you to tell that story.
Yeah, no, it's funny that it just sort of worked out that way. I think I was maybe 16, and now this is going back. This is probably like 1989, I think, somewhere around there. My dad
telling us your age there, huh?
Oh, I'm not ashamed of it. I got it all going on. It's all good. My dad was into drag racing, and he had a Challenger that he used to take on out to, I think it was Byron drag strip. And this is in Illinois at the time. And he would, go out there and do his thing, and I would go with him because I liked the long-haired guys that hung out at the track.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
So, at 16, I was like every father's nightmare, just just going out there, in my boots and, Daisy Dukes and everything. And I'd start wandering around while he was doing his thing with his car. And I'd start meeting people and hanging out with guys. And there was this one guy who was, looking back on it, total predator. I mean, just like creepy as could possibly be. But, I'm 16. I'm like, ooh, good looking guy. He's got long hair. All right, let's chat.
It is
so
1989.
We're hanging out. And so he's like working the room, right? He's just like, oh, where are you from? What are you doing here? Can you stay late? You want to hang out in the back of the car? And I'm like, nah, not really. He's like, well, here, have some of this. And I had like just like a regular plastic cup of Coke. He goes, this will make your Coke taste better. And I didn't think twice. I'm like, sure, throw it on in there. And he like dumps a whole bunch of this stuff out of a flask into my Coke. And like an idiot, I drank it because you didn't have to worry about being roofied then.
Yeah.
And I took a sip and I'm like, whoa, this is good. What did you put in there? And he's like, that's Jack Daniels.
You said, I have a new lover.
Yeah. That reminds me of my uncle telling me a story about my cousin when he was like 2. And begging for a sip of his Jack Daniels and ice, and he gave him a sip, and at 2, my cousin was like, this is good. And he's like, oh, darn.
Yeah, it just sticks with you. I mean, it just had that great smoky flavor. It did something to Coke, that I'd never seen happen before because I didn't really like Coke to begin with. So, it was life-changing. And, I kind of left the guy in the dust and went and hung out with my dad, awfully giggly for the rest of the afternoon.
I'm sure.
Did he ever notice anything? Call you out?
Oh, yeah, he did. He's like, what's with you? Because I was just, I was 16. I hadn't eaten all day. I probably hadn't eaten all week, honestly. So, I just that couple splashes of Jack in my Coke made me definitely, I'd say, a little bit more than drunk. And I said, oh, nothing. I got a sip of some booze from this guy. And my dad just rolled his eyes. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. You know better than that.
Yeah. No, I was just making sure that he wasn't listening to this for the first time if he happened to be.
Oh, yeah. We didn't ask you to have
no, my dad is the one who gave me my first sip of alcohol in general, so
okay.
He wasn't surprised.
Okay. I think there's more than once that me and Sherwin have said stuff on the podcast and then kind of went, sorry, Mom and Dad, oops.
We definitely apologized to Mom and Dad a couple of times. So you got a chance here, Juliette, for you to tell us a little bit about the book you wrote and the podcast you do, and how maybe I don't know how much you want to share about this, but how you go about storytelling, because it's a lot of fun to listen to you bake up a story and deliver it to the masses.
Oh, thank you for that. I love telling stories. I'm a writer. It's something that I've been doing all my life. And after my first book came out, I wanted to try something a little bit different, because as technology changes, people kind of stop reading. You look at things like Twitter and social media and everything, and it's all about these quick, punchy bursts of information. So I'm thinking, I got to try writing in a different way. So I started condensing my writing into essays, and then it just dawned on me about a year ago. I'm like, I can do a podcast. I'd heard some of my favorite comedians doing them, and I'm like, let me give this a shot. It seems like a great way to, share my stories.
So you said favorite comedians. Who were some of those? Because I think that's also what
I already know a couple of them.
That's also what got me and Sherwin into it. I mean, we got motivated based on that.
Well, the biggest one was Bill Burr. I'd been listening to his podcast for, months with my guy, and I love him. So I'm just like, well, you know what? He's got this great show. I can do the same thing.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I just purchased tickets for Rusty, me, and two of our other college buddies to go see Bill Burr at the Fox Atlanta Theater in October.
Oh, very, very nice. Yeah, he is just phenomenal when he does stand-up.
We actually were there in December 2 years ago.
2 years ago, something like that.
For his last special, the one he did in black and white, and we were crying. It's funny.
Yeah, it was outrageous and a real cool venue and everything. And same with Ari Shaffir does one, and I mean you just go down the list of names here, but Rogan for sure.
Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I had a chance to interview Ari Shaffir not too long ago.
Oh, really? Wow, I'm super jealous.
I listened to it.
How was that?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean,
he is one cool guy, and just I love the fact that he's all about storytelling too. Like if you watch that show, This Is Not Happening. It's not traditional stand-up. It really is just like these comedians getting up there and telling stories, which is just so cool and engaging.
Yeah, Ali Sadiq's story about Mexican gun on boots is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
I agree. I actually had the chance. I go to New York every once in a while, and I had the chance. I went to the Comedy Cellar up there, and Ari just happened to be doing just like a 5-minute set, and I mean, he just killed. He was the highlight of the night.
It was like 2 jokes.
Yeah, he was hilarious, and if you know him and his style, I mean, he was, we'll just say baked out of his mind.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So that was real fun. You said Illinois is where you were. Can you tell me which city was that? Because I'm just curious. I know some folks there, but that's
right now I'm just outside of Chicago.
Okay, so we have a friend whose parents were big into drag racing, and his dad drag raced our friend Chris. In Joliet there. So if you're outside of Chicago.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, that's where the racetrack is. Yeah, that's where Chicagoland is and all that. So very cool. It just reminded me of that. I've got an interesting question for you. So
is this the fan question or just
No. Just
we do have to get to that before we let her go.
That's true. I like I said, I travel a lot, and I hit the bar at night and just get me a little nightcap or something. And most of the time, I'm ordering like an old-fashioned or a Manhattan, or if I'm feeling a little sideways, I might get a Sazerac or something. But I feel like I am, well, to quote the drink, old-fashioned in that respect. What do you have a contemporary whiskey drink that you can recommend to me where I go into the bar, I order that, and they kind of look at me and go, "All right, yeah, I'll make that," and excited.
Well, the trouble is you're talking to a girl who loves the classics. I mean, I think a Manhattan is probably the quintessential cocktail.
Definitely my go-to.
Absolutely.
However, if you want to get something just, on the rocks, order Booker's on the rocks.
Booker's, okay.
Booker's.
Tell me about Booker's.
I've heard of Booker's.
It's actually out of the Jim Beam family. It's a hardcore. I think it's 110 proof. Right around there. It's a really just, kick you in the face, strong, spicy sort of bourbon, and it is good.
Booker's on the rocks. Well, they're going to owe you a little money because I'm definitely going to be doing that, and all of our listeners, I'm sure, will be into that too.
Booker's just got a free commercial because there's going to be some Booker's purchases after this, I guarantee it.
So you recently talked to Charlie Daniels, of all people.
I did.
And if we hadn't talked, I kind of skimmed over it at first because
Right,
we wanted to hear the story.
Like, holding that
but
back,
yeah.
like the reins of a horse. Because Charlie Daniels, Devil Went Down to Georgia. I don't think anybody that grew up listening to any kind of country or American music just loves that song. It's just so high-paced, and it represents Georgia very well, even though I know Charlie's from North Carolina. But anywho, we'd like for you to talk about that interview.
Well, I'll tell you, just sitting there waiting for the call to come through, I was just staring at my gear going, I can't believe I'm like, all tense and just ready to like grab the phone and be like, you are the coolest person ever. It's one of those times where you've got to like suck back the geeking out because, you've got to be pro when you talk to these guys. And he was just as nice as could be. I mean, total southern gentleman, just polite and well-spoken. And so I had to cut the interview off because it was going to go long. And I knew that, he had a hard stop. He just wanted to talk.
That's so cool.
He's very chatty. He's very generous with his time. And if you cut him open, he would bleed American.
Absolutely.
I had a chance to see him down in Jacksonville, actually, we were down there for the Georgia Tech Gator Bowl back in the day, and he was playing.
I was there. I didn't realize he played.
Yeah, he was playing down at the landing somewhere, and it was really cool.
I was really busy watching Lynch puke, I think.
A buddy of ours might have had too much whiskey there.
Yeah,
we've got a question. Royal. We've got a question from one of our listeners, and I love the question, and I'm going to read it verbatim. It's from Jason Woodham, at Woodham Jason, Woodham Jason, and he asks, and bear with me on this, he asks, is Pappy Van Winkle worth it? I mean, really worth it? I mean, really? That ish is expensive. Hashtag, I mean, really.
You know what? The quickest way to look like a jerk is going into a bar and going, yeah, I want a glass of Pappy.
Okay.
Yes, it's good, but it's not that good. I think there's more legend about it than there is at this point quality. There are so many other great bourbons in the world that, are not going to cost you your life savings. Like I said, Booker's, just go up there, get a glass of Booker's on the rocks. You're going to be happy with it. The bartender's going to be happy with you. It's all good.
What's your top three right now? So we got Booker's. What are some other things? Or maybe something exotic?
Well, it kind of changes by the season. In the summer, I like things that are going to be a little bit lighter. That's why I'm drinking the Town Branch. I also, when I'm mixing, I always go to Larceny because it just has a really easy, smooth flavor that goes with just about anything. Beyond that, I think, Russell's Reserve. This is definitely one of my favorite summer drinks.
Well,
it's from Wild Turkey. It's amazing. I mean, just really, it's kind of like a medium-bodied bourbon. It's got spice to it, a little bit of nut, and it's just, you don't even need to put it on ice. It is a great sipping drink.
So you suggested to me that I go seek out a tequila that was oak barrel aged, just like bourbons, and would drink over ice like a bourbon would. Can you remind me what that tequila was?
Yeah, that would be Grand Centenario. What you want to get is the Añejo. That's the aged one. I think it is.
Yes. I saw it in the liquor store yesterday, and I was afraid to buy it because I was afraid that I had not remembered correctly what your suggestion was. So I will go there tomorrow.
Yeah, get it. You will love it. In fact, you don't even need to put it on the rocks. You can totally sip that straight because it doesn't have that awful sort of tequila burn to it. The aging of it kind of mellows it out a little bit, and you just get great flavor.
That's awesome.
I'm looking forward to that one, too. I got a lot. You're going to run me out of money, too, now.
Yeah.
And a lot of liquor companies are going to owe me some money, too, after this.
No doubt.
They should. We've gotten a lot of jokes about that offline and online about how we're running commercials for all these booze and craft beer companies, and they should be giving us kickbacks. And I agree, but for now.
Seriously. At least they should be buying us some drinks, right?
Something.
No kidding.
So you're in Chicago. What's the best whiskey bar in Chicago?
Oh, that would absolutely be from the Cherry Circle Room.
Cherry Circle Room.
Without a doubt. It's old school. It's dark. It's got kind of this yellow gold tinge to it. Great dark bar. leather chairs, bartenders who really know their stuff. I mean, this is just the cool sort of classic but modern place to go.
That is awesome. And on that note, we'd like to give you the opportunity to plug anything you'd like to plug.
Well, sure. The Unwritable Rant is my podcast. It comes out every Sunday. You can find me at theunwritablerant.com, and that'll take you to everywhere you need to go. If you want to find me on Twitter, just hit me up there, and go to iTunes and subscribe to the Unwritable Rant.
What's your Twitter handle?
At Morning Neurosis.
At Morning Neurosis, and you'll have to spell check that for us. But Neurosis, I'm going to say.
I think if you try to type that into the Google box and you're not really a great speller, I think you're still going to end up in the right place.
Yep.
You will, yeah. Or you know what? Just Juliette Miranda. That'll get you where you want.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And the sultry voice on the other end of this podcast, we want to thank very much for joining us, Juliette Miranda, author of the book Morning Neurosis. We really appreciate you being here today.
It's been a blast.
Of course. I was so happy to talk to you guys. This has been awesome.
And maybe we'll talk to you again sometime soon.
I would love that.
All right. Take
Awesome.
care.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Dude, how cool is Juliette Miranda?
Perhaps the coolest podcaster on earth. Is that an inappropriate superlative? I mean,
I don't think so. I mean, especially tonight, no.
she certainly knows how to talk into a microphone. Like, absolutely knows how to tell a story, knows how to be a guest, knows how to do media.
We look forward to speaking with her some more as I get into this Widow Jane a little further.
We're going to get deeper into
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we'll
That's gonna
get
happen.
real deep.
There's going to be some more of it, which could mean that the next 30 minutes might go really sideways, which is fine.
Who knows? You know how we are.
We had a great interview with Juliette. She is very much excited to be a part of our future, and I think she will be.
Yep, and I think it's when me and Sherwin are a little nervous, and we pre-record it just to kind of calm our nerves a little bit and be able to talk with somebody beforehand. Whereas right now we drop in Weaver, and it feels like we've got such a good rapport with him or somebody, and they can co-host with us. And
by the way,
maybe she'll jump in as just like we do our other folks sometimes. But yeah, she's real cool.
True. Maybe we can do a bonus episode so that our NASCAR friends aren't upset that the content isn't NASCAR.
I think
we felt like we had to introduce her to y'all because y'all, to be honest with you, she tells great stories. She's very much aligned with the things we like, which is living life on the edge. If you're not living life on the edge, you're taking up too much space, as they say. And she loves whiskey, and it's just could not resist the opportunity to invite her to be on, and she accepted willingly, which is awesome. So we're going to do plenty of NASCAR for y'all tonight. Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
But we really wanted to atone for our transgressions on the What You Drinking segment by
that was
offering
totally
you
not planned either.
the best What You Drinking segment we could possibly offer.
That's right. Yeah, it totally wasn't planned that I would skip it last week and then bring it up.
We
this
don't think
week.
that far in advance,
I'm
y'all.
not that smart.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart. Stuff just
We're
works out.
not diabolical.
Falls,
we do
falls
whatever
into my lap.
Yeah, we do whatever happens now. We're not diabolical. We don't have an ounce of whatever that is.
Yeah.
We will plan a guest in advance because we know they need the proper notice in order to be available. But that is it.
I hate to bring the mood down here, but
we do have to do the thing.
It was really hard this week after what transpired this weekend, and then on Monday with the passing of Brian Clausen. I'll take off my hat here.
Absolutely.
We've had another episode where we've had to talk about this. It was a little bit weird. We knew we had Juliette on the show, and we really wanted to get excited and be excited about that. And the 800-pound gorilla, of course, is what's going on right here. And some things that people have said, and I'll tell you this: there's people who know him really well and that can give a really good eulogy. I don't know him. And I've probably
never did
heard
get a
his
chance
name
to
a
meet
few
him.
times. We didn't get a chance to meet him. We might have seen him because we've watched some of those outlaw races and some of the midget stuff. We might have seen him. I don't recall. Others know him on the track. That can talk about how good a racer he was. Others can break down the whole safety thing. So I don't think I have a whole lot to add as far as color goes there. But, we're a community. And so even if you're not the guy who knows him the best and give that best eulogy, if you're not the guy who knows him on the track, you're not the guy that can talk about safety in the sport. I saw a lot of people saying, let's not remember him for the way he went out, but for what he did on and off the track. And I'll tell you, the more I research, the more I look up, the more I see, the more I learn about him and how much of people say he was always smiling. He was one of the most positive guys out there, and I think that's one of the reasons that podcasts like us and all the media and everybody, we need to continue to reach out to these folks and get their stories, because it sounded like he's such a cool guy, and my regret now is not having ever been able to talk to him or anything or see him based on how cool a guy people are saying he was. So we obviously, I think it goes without saying, but we say it anyway, that we feel so bad for his parents, his fiance. Sherwin and I have suffered some losses, and the heartbreak is so hard. So I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I know we had some fans of ours. I know Kenny Smith out there. He's he had a kind of a hard time here because he knows a lot of these guys that are racing this stuff, and so it really affects the community. The last thing I'll say, and I'll give it to you, Sherwin. I saw somebody saying that this week we need to fly our checkered flags at half staff, and that just kind of gave me some goosebumps right here. As far as that's really the best way to put it. So that's all I can say. I want to be respectful there.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the coolest things that was said on Twitter today. I want to let y'all know. Y'all follow us, and I think you do because we're passionate, and the passion comes out. I cried my eyes out when I found out Brian Clausen had passed, because that's me. I'm an emotional person, and it doesn't matter if I know somebody or not. If there's an emotional situation comes, I just let it come. I'm the Jim Valvano kind of guy. It's like you got to cry, you got to laugh, and you got to thank every day, and that's a full day. And unless you do all three of those things, you probably hadn't filled out the day. And that's the way I feel. And Brian, the more we read and the more we hear, he's one of the greatest human beings on earth. And the reputation he had amongst racers was he was the best dirt open wheel racer on the planet and the best person. So to combine those two set of skills or functions it's immeasurable. You just can't.
I think in the only way that we know how is to
and we don't have a sip.
We gonna have a sip. So raise it to Brian Clausen. Cheers, buddy. So I don't know how to transition now. I don't know how
we got to come right back up. And we still have a couple of segments we got to come back up though.
We want to we want to be respectful.
We want to be respectful.
But we got a few things. So I think if we just start them, we're gonna get the momentum going again.
I almost started crying.
So, I know. You probably heard it in my voice there. You start talking about that stuff, and we don't talk about it much, but the stuff that
I want to hug his daddy, man. I tell you what.
Yeah. So regular schedule programs. So last week, I also missed something else. So I was so excited to have Weaver on, dude. When we can have somebody that you say
can we on the spot do 57 and 58
with an hour and a half notice, and you gave us Weaver, or I shouldn't say you booked Weaver on the show, and I was so excited I skipped what you drinking, and then the next thing I skipped was our normal by the numbers, and so I did not do a number 57. We got a lot of good suggestions from folks on 57.
Oh, we had some fun stuff for that.
Because there was like a Heinz 57 car at some point.
Hell there was. Who raced that thing? It was somebody super
We're going to
famous.
need the posse on Periscope to help us out with that.
Yeah, we need less of that.
Yeah, we're getting some funny comments on the scope. Every once in a while somebody comes in and just throws stuff around. But so I don't know what to say on 57 because I didn't look it up. I actually did look up a few things.
Jimmy Spencer. That's right.
Oh, it's Jimmy Spencer.
And it was in between when he decided to not be bald anymore and started wearing a rat on his head.
That was Mr. Reach into the truck and punch somebody in the face, Jimmy Spencer.
Oh, he definitely punched Kurt Busch in the face.
So there's your 57. We'll say that. So 58. This just fell in our laps, y'all. 2 days ago, it happened that, and Sherwin texted it to me right as I was reading it too. But Jim Furyk, we're going to switch sports here on you.
Yeah, we're going to golf. Yeah,
and Jim Furyk, the guy with the kind of waggly swing there,
that's the weirdest swing in golf.
Yep, he shot a 58 on Sunday at the Travelers Championship. That is a PGA record for low round ever. Think of how long it's
ever.
Hundreds
that's
of
ever.
years, or
ever
100-something years,
lowest round ever.
Yeah, and he shot that 58, and Sherwin was texting. We were texting back and forth, and I said, Sherwin, you realize what number podcast we're on in 2 days?
Oh, it was
and
perfect.
He was like, oh my God.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it just fell in our laps.
Like, how did that even happen?
Swinging it around to NASCAR, though, we have a couple of 58s. Johnny Patterson back in the 1950s. I didn't get it. I was trying to find some stories and stuff about him. Didn't find much, but he ran 20 races in the 58. He had 4 top 5s. Sometimes it's not about the, what do they say, not about the destination, but about the journey. And it was really fun to look up some of these older guys and see where they've been and all that, and see what was going on.
Well, did you? Yeah, I'll let you keep going.
Sorry. Oh, no, go for it.
No, I don't know anything about Johnny Patterson. I just know that.
Oh, I have nothing.
One of the cool things that we got tweeted at. Oh, you know what? It's down the road. Sorry, I just interrupted for no reason because that's what I do.
Yeah,
ADD took over.
Well, that'll happen.
We will talk about it in like 42 episodes.
yeah.
Coming back.
Have a number 100. All right, back to our regular scheduled program. So in 1999, now we get this from we get this, what do you call it, moniker from the Marty and McGee show, but they call, and we've said it before, the racing sensei, Ricky Craven.
Ricky Craven.
Guy I respect a lot. He's on that turn 4 that we talk about a lot.
So smart.
But yeah, 1999, the racing sensei, Ricky Craven, he drove 12 races for Scott Barber in that SB50 or SB3.
SB3 Motorsports. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I'm glad that we had somebody really cool like Ricky Craven to be a part of that team to have to talk about it, because 58, for sure. We want to get the number well represented. We want to get the people represented, and we want to bring the trivia to y'all, because I know y'all love it.
And if y'all find somebody, if you know somebody, or if you know somebody local, guys, we love to talk about somebody local. If there's a 59,
hell
a 60,
yeah. If y'all
61,
know somebody that's 59 that we could interview in person or
bring them on the
crazy,
show.
yeah.
Holy crap.
We would love to do that.
Yeah.
59 is not a super popular number.
True.
But it might be for a Legends racer at Atlanta Motor Speedway or something like that.
Yep. So let us know. We'd love to have them on the show. Let's start tearing it down. Ready to tear it down?
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
So we've got a few things to
Denny
tear
Hamlin
down from this
down.
week.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Speaking of tearing it down, yeah, we did have some tearing it down. We let's see. So it's Watkins Glen. It's a race that you said it last week's show. I think we both agree that, I mean, it's just these road courses have become what we look forward to.
This is the best race on the circuit.
As much as the short tracks, as much as the flat stuff, as much as the milers, as much as the throwbacks, is looking forward to these road races. And especially, we keep talking about at Watkins Glen, the super speedway of the road courses.
Watkins Glen is the best race on the schedule, and it is only 1A to 1B Sonoma.
Yeah.
Right now, in terms of what we want from a NASCAR race, we want fast cars going loud. We want them
fast
to be
cars
very close
loud
to each other. Going
Sorry, I just have
fast
fun.
cars going loud.
Fast cars going loud. I'm digging it.
Loud cars going fast, and we want them in close proximity.
Yep.
And we want the finish to be hotly contested.
Yep.
And we got that in spades from Infineon and Watkins Glen this year.
And we want...
And last year and the year before.
Yeah, and we want a lot of contact, too. And these tracks give us a lot of contact. Think of that last hairpin turn over in Sonoma.
Oh, hell yeah.
Or the bus stop.
Tony body slams for the win.
Yeah.
Brad picks a line that works for him but doesn't work for Truex.
Yep.
And so they go for a little bit of a roll around.
And the variety and everything else. So, I mean, this has become the new short track. It's become the new, I think I saw.
It's become what Bristol was when Dale E. Sr. was doing his stuff.
We've talked about it on the podcast before that look back, even when we started watching, and this was only 12, 13 years ago, when we were really getting into the sport. And the way these guys, when you're watching Bristol, the guys finishing in the top 5, I mean, half of them, there's no hood, there's no front fenders. You just see that radiator poking out. It's smoking at the end.
Cars beat to hell.
Cars beat to hell, and they cross the finish line first. And it feels like we're getting a lot of that with these races. And look at what happened. We have Watkins Glen sellout. You know,
they sold out the main grandstand.
Sold out.
That is something NASCAR should be singing from the rooftops.
Yep.
But I don't know if they are or not. I know that some of the media is.
I know the media is,
and giving as
like
much props as they can.
Yep.
I just don't understand. Like,
there might be some people loving on Jeff Gordon being able to see him, but they sold out last year, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yep.
It's 2 years in a row.
So 2 years,
in a row, they've sold the main grandstand out, and that is so cool. And you hear the other guys that we pay attention to, the door bumper clear guys.
Yep.
Talk about what's going on in the infield at Watkins Glen. It ain't a whole lot different than what's going on at the infield at Talladega.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun happening, y'all.
A
lot of fun. A lot of what you're drinkings.
Yep.
A lot of bad decisions. And there's a lot of people there watching. And if you looked at that racetrack wall to wall on the inside, there was campers everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The infield was slam packed, and we should probably consider doing that. When we go,
that's a good point.
Is renting the camper deal.
That's a good point. So we had Denny Hamlin take the checkers after I would say there was probably a little bit too much in terms of the cautions there at the end. Not saying that NASCAR threw them incorrectly, just saying that it got a little.
You'd like to see a decent run.
I want to see 4 laps or so at the end.
10. You want to see 10
or something. Yeah, where they're not spread out, which they don't get too spread out at Watkins Glen. So. But overall, I had a good time. I had fun watching it. Denny Hamlin takes the checkers. We'll get to what happened right after the checkers in a minute. But he's been getting now, listen, I'm no fan of Denny Hamlin. Matter of fact, I've probably been more of a detractor in my NASCAR fandom.
We've been pretty critical of him on this show because we don't like him.
Yeah, he had a back spasm that day. And this has happened to Jeff Gordon before, too.
Super impressed by this.
And the fact when he was getting out of the car, he was hobbling. And he was walking over, and he talked about his back spasm and stuff. I only relate in that I've had maybe a handful of back spasms in my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what they are. And it's not like a twitch, like when your eye spasms or something. It's not. That's not what a back. They should call it a back. You just got hit by a sledgehammer. Yeah, back failure or something. The last time I had one, I was in the bed. I actually leaned over to tell our esteemed producer, the Frizz 11, I was telling her, hey, bye, I'm off to work, I'll see you later. When I bent over, had the spasm, fell onto the bed, and 10 minutes later, I was texting my boss saying, there's no way I can make it in today, and I put the phone down, didn't pick it up the rest of it. Like, I could do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh. It was that debilitating. And so for somebody to get into a car, and even if it's a mild back spasm or something, even if it's just barely a thing, but it wasn't for Denny, so
right, a lot of take respect. 3 Gs like 7 times a lap.
A lot of respect for somebody who can do that. Not only just race it, but he won the dadgum race.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they say,
geez,
for whatever reason, we always look back on Jordan against the Jazz with the flu and running 104 fever and scoring 40 points or whatever. Like, for whatever reason, having some kind of ailment locks your brain in to a place where you
have one focus.
It's not that it didn't hurt while he was racing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that Michael Jordan didn't feel like crap while he was playing. It just allowed his brain to say, we got a little bit of an issue here, so we're not normal. So we got to operate in the zone. We're operating in the red.
Yep.
We're in the red zone. And it's amazing how many of these athletes can do really crazy things when they have that situation. Like, it seems to be, it's something about human performance that, like, if you have an issue, but you're still capable of performing, like, there is that opportunity for you to push that rev limiter right into the red and just stay there.
And I know he got some ish from folks on Twitter calling him, a wuss and all this, but y'all, I mean, I don't wish a back spasm on my worst enemy just because of how awful it is. And for him to be able to drive a car, even with a mild one, I couldn't even drive. I couldn't drive my own truck. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do nothing. And so, yeah, well, for what it's worth, a lot of respect for him on that, and a lot of respect for coming across the stripe in first. I mean, crazy. But after he came across the stripe, what happened, Sherwin?
He proceeded to do a burnout that did more destruction to the rear end of a race car than I have ever seen a burnout do to a race car. And that could have only been for one reason.
Well, so in the pre-show, you said, did you see that burnout? I said, oh, where he shredded his tires completely down to the rim, and then he started burning out and destroying his car. So, yeah, that was...
He drove it from the front stretch down to the turn where the other big grandstand is with everything flat in the rear.
Yep.
And then started doing burnouts again.
Yep. I mean, I understand you're real excited about winning the race, but there's got to be something there. And same goes the windshield wiper conspiracy for Gibbs. We didn't even write this down in the show notes, but...
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we talked about it. Somebody sent me a tweet about it, and I'm like, why do you think they ran? I mean, it's obvious they did some aerodynamic work, and clearly that provides some sort of advantage.
Or some amount of 2 ounces
Just
of
enough.
weight on this part.
A couple points of downforce sometimes makes a difference.
Who knows? And so, I'll tell you why.
Oh, and that's stolen content from Door Bumper Clear. They talked about it today.
Oh, did they? I didn't even...
Yeah. Actually, I'm just using information provided me by other people, which is how life works. Yeah, that's basically what Spotter Brett said is, obviously they did something in the wind tunnel they liked, and so they decided to do it. Other teams maybe didn't experience the same thing, so they didn't run the wiper.
Yeah. I'll tell you,
it's kind of a duh.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it was an interesting move. I thought it was cool. I'm like, oh, okay, well, neat.
Well, you're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So why not do it? Why not get every advantage you could possibly have that's legal?
Yeah. So then he tears it down, and I think your point in all of this, or our point in all this, is what is the point of having what did they measure in the geometry post-race on a completely destroyed car? I don't know what they even, did they just take the claw or the lasers and just be like, well, yeah, close enough. Screw it.
Well, I mean, in general, that's my perspective. But what's odd is that when they pushed it into victory lane after they put fresh tires on it, or at least usable functional tires,
yep,
it looked like a race car.
Huh.
It didn't look like a race car after he'd finished his burnout, but we know based on television that the track bar mount was broken, so there's no possible way in hell they could have passed laser inspection. Track bar mount was not broken before he crossed the start-finish line. So, and that's why I sent a question to Door Bumper Clear of, NASCAR clearly doesn't give a
rat's patootie
cuss word, like the worst one you can describe. They don't give a cuss word about rear end geometry inspection, and that's what we saw with Kenseth, and people got pissed. And we referenced Door Bumper Clear because TJ Majors and Spotter Brett both said Kenseth should have lost the checkered flag because he failed post race, and it's like, well,
what's the
how
point?
can you say that in your show and then also acknowledge my comment that NASCAR obviously doesn't care very much about post-race rear-end geometry inspection, because we've now had 3 different cars, 2 different teams, 2 different manufacturers employ the same process of elimination of not getting a penalty. Yep. So what are we even talking about?
Yeah. So let's move on. We had some good picks. I think you picked Joey, I picked Dinger, and both top 5, second and fourth. So we might have to flip a coin or fist fight or whatever for the pick next week.
Oh yeah, I meant to bring my orange bowl.
Good picking with us. Well, you don't have to today because we're not picking today.
We don't have a cup.
Let's move on to kind of our new segment. We got our Strange with Stang. Get us a question.
Do we
in
have
here.
a Strange with Stang?
We do.
I'm excited for this.
Here you go, Sherwin. I'll let you answer first. Would you rather? And Strange with Stang is our off the wall question from Ashley J.
Stang.
Yep, and she asks us: would you rather accidentally sit on a fire ant or a fire ant home, not just a fire ant,
like
but
an anthill.
Yeah, like an anthill, or be forced to play Frogger in a 10-lane highway for reals, is what it says.
Wow, one of those
fire
has
ant
some pretty significantly different implications.
I'm thinking
we're saying up front we're not allergic to fire ants.
Yeah, I'm not allergic to fire ants.
How long do I have to sit on the fire ant hill?
Let's say as long as it would take you to get through Frogger of a 10-lane highway. So, I
don't know. Growing up in Atlanta, buddy, I bet we could play some Frogger across the connector.
I play Frogger across Buford Highway every time I go to work. I'm not Frogger. I'm like the log that's coming down the way there on one of the trucks. Or something.
The immovable object.
A lot of
cars hope they don't hit.
Crossing the streets there. So.
I don't know. Fire ant. So here's the thing is, look, in other parts of the country, y'all got ants. And ants suck. Mm-hmm. They bite. And it itches, and maybe it hurts a little bit. Them ain't fire ants. Fire ants suck.
Yeah, fire ants suck a lot.
I would probably be willing to walk out onto the road near 5th Street in Atlanta during, rush hour wouldn't be fair because they're slow.
Yeah.
So during fast hour.
Yep.
I would probably be willing to try to cross the road. And that's 8 lanes now?
Yeah, something like that.
8 lanes.
So close enough. Or just do both sides. And
rather than sit on a fire ant bed and potentially have my 3-piece set get bitten up.
I'm going to go the opposite answer. Here's the thing. The worst thing that can happen if I sit on a fire ant hill is it just sucks for quite a while. And the worst thing that happens... is that I become...
Well, there is death.
Yeah, the whole death thing. So I'm not interested in that. So I'm going to go with Fire Ant Hill myself, but I'm not blaming you for that one. So
yeah, I'm going for
Ashley,
Frogger.
as always, appreciate you sending in the Strange with Stang this week. Let's gas it up. You ready to gas it up?
Gas it right back up, man.
Let's talk about Eric Jones right quick. We only have a couple minutes left here, but Eric Jones...
He doesn't suck at race cars.
No, he does not. Doesn't suck at race
sounds
trucks,
like
race Xfinities, and now
somebody
race
in Denver is pretty well aligned on the fact that he doesn't suck.
Yep. So he's coming in as a second car, right?
I think this was very, very predictable. We're going to see a second car with Furniture Row. Yep. We expected this expansion. I don't know that we necessarily completely tapped Eric Jones for it, but we felt like now that they had joined the Joe Gibbs fold, that they were probably going to look at a second car
Gibbs
for sure.
Sixth car, if you will.
Yeah, the Gibbs.
And it's not like Gibbs has anybody aging or leaving anytime soon. It's not like a situation that Roush might be in, or even Hendrick with Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jr.
I think Hendrick's more blocked even than JGR because Kenseth's 46. He hadn't shown any signs of wanting to go, but he's probably got 2 or 3 years left, I would reckon.
Yep. So, gassing it up still next week, Road America for Xfinity. I think you had said it 3 or 4 different road courses for Xfinity over the next few weeks.
Yeah, 3 of the next 5 weeks.
3 of the next 5 weeks.
Yeah, because they'll be doing Mid-Ohio when we go back to
So
Brooklyn
fun.
In the Irish Hills. But, yeah, Elkhart Lake is a really fun track. I don't want to hear any bullspit about how running on rain tires is really cool. We happened to get this weird situation where the track started wet and it went dry. So we got a really neat situation with Chase Elliott and Brendan Gaughan, who won the race. And obviously it's exciting for Brendan Gaughan to win. What we would prefer is dry the whole way because that track is a ton of fun.
Yep.
I mean, it's worked out great for NASCAR. Some road courses are just not going to work for NASCAR. Elkhart Lake, Road America, I'm in. Thumbs up.
Going to be a blast. So we have an off week, of course, for Cup, but the week after that, Andrew Sherwin.
Where are we going?
Engineer. We are going to Bristol, baby!
It's Bristol, baby!
We're super excited. If you're on the, if you're part of the posse, if you're a fan, if you're a follower, if you're just listening for the first time, hey, join us at Bristol. I'm real excited. We've been going for several years now, and we're
going to do our podcast from the campground.
We are going to do our podcast from the campground, and if the stars align and if all the people are in the right place, we're going to be having some special guests or something on there.
Well,
we don't want to announce that quite yet, but just in case things don't align. But it sounds like we've got some cool stuff coming up, so we'll see.
And for sure, we're going to have some interesting Periscope stuff go on. We got the tweet up that we always participate in, thanks to Jeff Gluck and all of his efforts to get people motivated and together. We have, thanks to my, tapping for the Bristol Fan Advisory Board, we'll have a meeting that we'll get to go to with a bunch of other like-minded folks that love racing. That's different. Don't know what amount of that particular situation we'll get to apply to PETM podcast, but I know that the president of the club has listened to our podcast, so he's aware that we're doing it, and that's a thing, and he has been more than willing to allow us to promote within, and I have been reluctant to do so because I don't want to take advantage of those cool people until I understand what the situation is and meet him and all that stuff. So.
We'll do picks next week for that.
Hell yeah!
And y'all, hey, PETM Posse, y'all send us some ideas on because we both had top fives, but we didn't have the win. Send us some ideas on how we can decide, without like hurting or killing each other, who's going to make the first pick next week. I
think what you want to do is decide that Sherwin gets to Rochambeau Rusty.
And you get to start. Oh yeah, that doesn't hurt anybody. No. So join us on the 19th.
Wet T-shirt contest.
Wet T-shirt.
Y'all would hate that, I promise you.
Wet T-shirt. I love it. So our next podcast is going to be on the 19th, Friday. So y'all have got
we're going to be late Friday night.
9 days, 10 days, something like that before our next one. So y'all get ready for it. We'll make our picks. We'll have special guests. We're going to be on site. So the coolest part for me last time we did that was like you could hear the bugs in the background and the chirping.
Hell yeah,
the
you
crickets
could hear the
and
bugs.
Stuff. It was fun. We had callbacks from
every time we wooed, you could get some callbacks.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a blast with that. So let's start winding her down.
Oh,
Sherwin.
Jelly Bean!
It's Jelly Bean.
Do I need to make the gag fart?
Challenge time. Let's make this happen. I'm going to bring up some tunes here. As always, we want to thank y'all for joining. We want to give a special thanks to Juliette Miranda for joining us on the show today. She's so cool. So fun to talk to.
Juliette Miranda was awesome.
I got my jelly beans in my mouth now.
Personality.
But she's real. I love talking to somebody who knows more than me about booze.
I got to get...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she knows a lot.
So for somebody to know more about booze than me means I get to learn something about booze, which is one of my top two subjects besides NASCAR.
Challenge. Get the gag fart going here. So, that's gross.
PETM Posse, thank y'all for joining on the Periscope tonight. Man, Sherwin's all about those. Close that one out. On the far guy. Y'all know where to follow us. It's at PETM Podcast. You can join us on Twitter.
We get all the fan questions.
Podcast.
I thought. Did we miss one?
We'll add another one in there if we have to. Maybe next week.
I thought we got them all because we had one for.
We're good.
Okay,
we're good.
Yeah, so.
You can follow me, Tailgate Mayor, Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
You can follow me, Sherwin, at Pregame ENG.
And we're going to talk to y'all next Friday from Bristol.
Yeah, we'll be at you about 9 days from now at Bristol.
Woo!